Hey, Sagittarius, how are you? This is Street Level Spirituality for your end of 2019 uh, Hanging with Sagittarius. It's called that. So, what I do is I do a long format, no ads, casual kickbacks, a video you can put on while you're chilling, maybe laying in bed, driving. Um, and it's just a casual time. I talk a little astrology, talk a little tarot, talk a little shit, whatever it takes to make it happen. I'm just exploring my Pisces full moon nature, my intuitive nature, and just following the direction of a couple psychics who've told me over the years to keep doing my tarot and um, just kind of exploring the side of myself. So thanks for joining me. Um, Today's a bang up. It's October 30th, and we've got Mercury, going retrograde in just a few number of hours here. And I don't know about you, but I had a really intense day. Lots of just shifts of energy real quick. And I think this is a theme that I see going on throughout the end of the year. There's in the next or end of October up until the third week of November. There's quite a variety of energies that are more reflective or possibly even challenging. But anything challenging, any square opposition, anything challenging in general is just an opportunity to gain insight on something. Not always a time to take action, but a time to reflect and gain insight. So first and foremost, we have Mercury retrograde on Halloween, and that's going to be in Scorpio right before you. It's at the very end of Scorpio, so it's almost touching Sagittarius at 27 degrees Scorpio. That's going retrograde until the third week of November. And it's a time of reflection. It's a time of unresolved issues to come forward. It's a time to get clear on our communications. It's time to get clear on our own mental processes. So anything that is unresolved will come forward to be addressed. It's a really great time to meditate on and practice our ability to reflect on the shadow side of life. So the old, well, not the old saying, but in Egyptian mysticism, they have the idea that shadow points the way. It's the idea that the shadow will always point to where the sun will rise again. And so the idea being that when we come face to face with things that need to be resolved, challenges, pains, fears, things like that, they're just simply making us aware of the direction that we need to move towards the light. So anyway, that's an analogy. And what it does is it's a great view on life, because instead of our, these fears or challenges that come up in our lives, instead of it feeling scary or frightening or disempowering, we recognize that they're simply indicators or signposts that point us in the right direction. So we can stop kind of feeding our fears and negativity toward that and redirect it towards constructive outcomes. So we just simply need to respond to things. So anyway, let's see. Sagittarius energy. I have my Neptune in Sagittarius. So I understand that visionary state and that playful state, and I really always enjoy hanging around a Sagittarius. My son has a Sagittarius rising. My mom has a Sagittarius rising. They always make you feel like there's a good time to be had, and I just wanted to thank you for that gift that you bring to the universe. In balance, all of our signs have gifts, and you contribute a really important one, which is playfulness and spirit, which often can be lost through, especially in a modern day environment where people are so mental and information driven. So thank you for your gift to the world, and I couldn't think of a better time to bring more play into life than right now. Things can get really serious, and we need you. So thank you for that. The other things coming up is on November 20th, we have, I think, Jupiter's reaching the galactic center, and then there's some other aspect with Mars or something like that. But anyway, So around the end of Mercury retrograde, we'll then move into a nice positive influence period towards the end of November around Thanksgiving. It'll give us plenty to be thankful for after we go through the first 3 weeks of November in Mercury retrograde. And then the other thing I wanted to mention also, I forgot to mention, was towards the beginning of November, I think it's November 5th, there's a square with Mars. Mars and Pluto square off. And Mars being the planet of ego, passion, drive, war, all that kind of energy, real masculine, passionate energy, squaring off with Pluto, the planet of truth and transformation. Pluto's the planet that kind of murders you and then reforms your body and your whole reality and then puts you back out there in the world and you're like, whoa, am I who I used to be? You're still there, but you're like, whoa, I'm all new. I'm all brand new. What happened? And it's associated with Scorpio. So if you're familiar with Scorpio energy, that's that kind of vibe. So they're both very intense planets, and in a square, they're at an angle where they're kind of hitting each other. It's a little bit of a tug of war. It's a little bit of a abrupt. It's like, no, I'm right kind of energy, and it has to be resolved. So, basically with that happening right in Mercury retrograde, we already have opportunities for miscommunications, and we want to avoid situations like that as much as possible, because with Mars and Pluto squared off, it can be a time where a lot of sparks can fly, egos can flare. So what I was going to say is you might have a personal conviction, a personal truth. There may be a power struggle. These are all Plutonian aspects. And with Mars clashing against that, you might be pushing your personal truth. Someone might be pushing their personal truth and get a lot of kickback for it. And Mars has got a lot of energy, so it's not one to really mess with. Apparently my screen just freezes sometimes, so why don't you just look at that funny face for a while until it comes back in, but I gotta figure it out. I'm not sure what's going on with my computer. So coming out of that, end of November is looking really good towards Thanksgiving, and then we move into December at the end of the year, and we have a big solar eclipse on December 26th, and it's conjunct Jupiter, so again, another really beautiful Jupiter aspect coming towards the end of December around Christmas time. With you have we have a really big planetary aspect coming in exact in January of 2020, which is the conjunction of Capricorn and Pluto and Saturn in Capricorn. And so there's a whole gang up of planets, a stellium of planets forming around that in early January, and around first the solar eclipse on December 26th. But basically a bunch of planets are going to be moving through your sign leading up to that. So you're going to get a taste in your sign, probably a little stronger than most other people, leading up to both the solar eclipse and the Saturn-Pluto conjunction in January. So you have Mercury and Venus going through your sign and through the majority of this next few month time period. So you'll have Mercury coming through after Mercury retrograde, I should say, which is end of November and into December. So a lot of that mercurial energy that got cleared up, you'll see a lot of fast forward movement, particularly in your sign, and a lot of clarity coming in your communications, which is really good. And then also Venus moving through your sign, so there'll be a lot of you'll be more attractive to people, be more loving, and generate more of that kind of energy in your life in general. So astrologically, primarily it's mostly mercurial and Venusian energy in the last few months. be really aware of what's going on in your communications and stay level-headed the first few weeks of November. You don't want to pick a fight. You don't want to get hot-headed. You don't want to do anything like that. So, all that said, let's do some tarot and catch up a little bit. How are you guys doing? I think my camera's still frozen. Well, maybe you can listen. I'm just going to finish the video. Just checking on you guys, see how you're doing. There's a lot of energy moving around. And a lot of surprising energy shifts today. And needed to kind of rest and recuperate a little bit after all that. Well, let's see if I can move it. If I move it, oh, I did something. Well, there I am. Let's see if I can move it again. No. Well, oh, it looks like it's still recording. Anyway, let's go on with it anyway. It's not like you need to see me talking the whole time. Yeah, anyway, lots of changes and shifts today, and really with, I usually look at the themes of what's going on in my life and the things that pick up as I'm tuning into the energy for the reading for the day. And, today I was, I could say it was kind of a Sagittarius kind of vibe in the sense that I had to face a lot of like real intense conversations today, big decision making regarding life. And, ultimately, after everything at the end of the night, I took some time to, got this inspired idea to mix a little peanut butter and water and then mix that into my pancake batter. And then I made pancakes with infused with peanut butter, which was amazing. And I put some chocolate chips in it. Took it out, put a little maple syrup and some whipped cream on top. Boom, boom, boom. I thought that was kind of Sagittarian, playful, fun. Taking the kind of these very primal and intense energies of life and simply just responding with a little playfulness and to bring a little joy into my life. So, maybe that's a theme as we go through all these challenges and all these intense kind of situations, is to simply, respond with humor or respond with, what can we do to create that lightness in our heart so we're not stuck in the intensity of something, again, seeing the shadow, taking the time to reflect on it, but, why not eat some peanut butter chocolate chip pancakes while we're doing it? You know what I mean? Have a little playfulness, Put on some comedy in the background, put on some music that makes you happy. What I have to do is I put on Louis Prima, which I don't know if you've ever heard of Louis Prima, but kind of older, fun music. And I think they did like the soundtrack for the original Lion King or something, or one of the songs for the Lion King. I don't recall, but just really fun stuff. And try not to be too serious about things. So keep the lightness, keep the spirit, and keep bringing that, cultivating it within so we can bring it to other people. And with all the intensity of all the stuff coming up with the Pluto-Saturn conjunction in January, as a Sagittarius, why not be an ambassador for goodness out there and go shine your playfulness out there in the world a little bit and help, brighten people's days. You're the best at it. So anyway, just wanted to catch up a little bit. If you guys want to share a little bit about what's going on with you, leave a comment. We're gonna pull some cards for you. And again, these are always general vibes, just general. Oh, we got video back. Yay! I wish I knew when the video was pausing so I could make like more like, I don't know, better pose. Insert pose. I used to be a perfectionist. I do video professionally, and I used to have all these intense setups. I'd make sure I had my clothes on and 3 lights with background lights and my high-end Blackmagic camera and all this stuff. And it looks better. There's no doubt it looks better. But I needed like a sustainable setup. I live in a little house, and so I just basically use my MacBook and a ring light up above, and it gets the job done. So I figure the importance is the message anyway. So I'm just trying to create a sustainable setup for what I'm doing. All right, triple cut. There we go. Okay, let's look at the nature of the reading. What's influencing it? Ooh, I like it already. The spiritual realms, the material realms, the recent past. Oh, you're coming out of some, coming away from some mental struggles. That's good. Looking to create some abundance in your life. Let's see what's going on here. Your outcome card. Oh, very good. Outcome card's very nice. It's actually one of the nicer ones I've seen out of this video series so far. Very nice. So I don't know anything about this yet, so I'm just going to look at your cards and tune in with you a little bit. I love this deck. This is nice. It's like the regular Rider-Waite Tarot, but they took the borders off. I forget what it's called. It's kind of cool, though. I'm doing all this backwards because the monitor is backwards, but you can kind of see here. These are all the cards that are not in your reading. You did not get that card. Now you can see. Okay, there you go. You can see it. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so let's check this out. Okay. Okay, so something about your creative tools, not creating the abundance that you want. Something happened in the past where there was mental anguish and it reached a boiling point and something ended. So there might have been a journey that was really challenged your mental processes. I know for myself, I've gone through this cycle a few different times and finally can recognize it, which is great. But one situation could be obsession. One situation could be just focusing on one thing in your mind too much, being out of balance. So what I'm seeing is this deep need to reconnect with nature, and that this reconnecting with nature will get you out of your headspace a little bit. You went through this thing, and it's going to give you a little bit of recovery. So, and that by spending time in nature, by spending time reconnecting with nature, you move away from your mental, your obsessive mental actions, processes. So, it's retraining yourself to bring your balance back between your mental processes and your body and getting in touch with your body. I'm a big advocate of being in touch with the physical or somatic part of your reality. So what happens is we can be so in our mind and in our beliefs that sometimes our ideology can kind of take over, and we just can think our way into and out of situations. And when you surrender to the body, to how you actually feel, then what you can do is you can actually start to work from a place, a foundation that's true. And even though you might find yourself in a state of suffering physically or in the material realms, you at least hit a point of levity or reality that you can start functioning from, that's actually real and not based purely on the mental processes, which ultimately in the long run will leave you in a place that's not very balanced or feels very good. So it's getting back to reality. It's getting in your body and allowing your body to dictate what's appropriate for you. And it really becomes quite simple at that point, because you basically just practice your breathing exercises, stomach breathing exercises, or just throughout the day, as you're doing things, just as you're driving, be like, oh, like, wow, look, my stomach, and take some deep breaths, from right here in your solar plexus. And when you breathe, make sure your stomach goes out as you breathe and in, so that you're breathing, even if it's not, not focused, just that you're feeling your kind of center of being down here in your stomach area. Let your stomach kind of like push forward, out, relaxed, and be in your presence, be in your body, be in this experience. Mental ruin can suck, and you don't want to be in that place because it really just ends up having a really bad. You can't. It's just like a wheel, a hamster wheel that just keeps looping, and there's nothing to really function from. If you get into your body, your stomach, and your center, your sacral center, and just kind of your rooted center, then you're kind of coming from a place that's rooted. I mean, I don't know, maybe it sounds super obvious, but so anyway, but what I'm seeing is that you may have lost your creative abilities. You may have lost your ability to reflect on a situation and come up with creative solutions in life, or this might even be literally in your profession or career. But that process of creativity, of initiation and nurturing to bring something to life is basically fallen out of balance. So by taking the time to get more into your body, by taking the time to get into nature and spend more time at the rhythm of nature and aligning your own mental and physical feelings and presence and experience into nature, that your creative tools and all the resources that you need to move forward will start to emerge in your consciousness and in your abilities again. So it's basically, we need to slow down the mental processes, come into the body, and slow down to the pace of nature a little bit, so that we can then resume the creative process. We've got a little out of balance between the two. On a spiritual realms, in the spiritual realms, you have the Queen of Swords, which is really beautiful because this is a very feminine aspect of the mental processes presenting itself to you. So, and it's a queen, so it's feminine energy that is mastered, the ability to navigate the mind and the mental processes. So I see this, I see as being in nature is as the doorway to those clearer processes within your mind, and working yourself into a situation and into mental habits that really serve your higher good, and consider things like your body and other aspects of your experience, and are more nurturing and gentle in how they function, so they're not kind of hurting the body. If you take the mental, the mind, and you take the physical body, and you apply, in human terms, the masculine and feminine, in the sense that the mind or the mental is of the divine or the masculine, and that the physical body is of the earth or the feminine, you can start to see how the symbology between what we've experienced in the patriarchal society, where we've had this kind of oppression or abuse of the feminine aspect, or the feminine woman or the earth throughout history, and how we're currently remedying that. How that's symbolic also of our mind and our bodies, how our minds have kind of taken over and somewhat abused and not respected the balance between the body and the mind. And that really gives us some human terms to start to understand kind of what that's all about. So, you look at society, you look at what's kind of viewed as important, it's very much mental processes. While our bodies, you go to work, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this, and our bodies are paying the toll, and we don't feel good. And then we have to kind of keep putting this mask on and pretending that reality is something else, and it doesn't feel good. So we're balancing the masculine and feminine. In your case, it's a great opportunity for you to just get into your body. Do what you need to do to get in there. Move your sacral center. That can be dance, sexuality, anything like that. Really bring it down into your root core and come outward from this out into the world with a rooted presence. So I've been through this process. It's really challenging. I lived in my mind very mental for many years, and it just brought a lot of suffering. So we don't need that. Um, and it's going to get you back in that creative process. You're going to come back into balance, and you're going to feel really excited about creating again. In the subconscious realms, in the physical body, in the realms of the mother, is we have this ending of this cycle of feeling really guarded. Whatever this situation is in the recent past, this kind of mental rune, it left you feeling really guarded and protective of yourself. But I can see that, when we go through this process of kind of feminizing the mental processes and making sure that our mental processes are done with gentleness, awareness, and kindness to others and our body and our experience, so our experience isn't jaunting and abusive and uncomfortable to exist in, that guard's gonna come out, because we're gonna feel like we're more in balance and more capable of dealing with life and the challenges that we face, because we're able to manage ourselves better. In the near future, let's see, let me just look at all these cards here. Let's look at the near future, okay? Let's look at your attitude in this situation. This is great. It looks like you're really wanting to invest in yourself to move forward. Your environment, it looks like there's, it appears to me that some of these mental issues, some of these rectifying of the mind and stuff like that, has to do with your environment, and it's not necessarily all you. That this situation you went through was that there was a misuse of power, that somebody wasn't really honoring you, or a situation, or abuse of power. It could have been in a relationship, a boss, it could have been a legal battle, something. There was a misuse of power, and it kind of left you feeling mentally challenged, and in some situations it could have been, really a traumatic experience on some level. So what the message I'm getting here is, don't be hard on yourself for whatever this process is that you just recently came out of, and just take the time to invest in yourself by first getting in touch with nature and kind of calming the mind into a more nurturing and compassionate type of thinking process. So just tune into that. But nature is going to do that for you. Jump in the water, sit in the earth, get around the trees, get around the animals, and just tune into their frequency. There's a certain flow to it. And as soon as our body's connected with that, that brings health and well-being back to us. So whatever you went through, sorry, it doesn't look like somebody was being very responsible. It's not your responsibility. It's your responsibility to take care of yourself. So don't worry too much about it. Your attitude, is very much about wanting to invest in yourself and watching something grow, which is really beautiful. So your greatest hopes and greatest fears is that you won't be able to create that foundation of well-being for yourself, and some kind of structure in your life that is nurturing to your reality. But I wouldn't worry about that at all. Again, don't get tricked out in your mind. Get in your body and feel through it. And sometimes if you're not used to that, it can be uncomfortable at first, because you realize, wow, I really don't feel as good as I thought I did. Wow, my body hurts, my leg hurts, my back hurts, my breathing's shallow, like whatever it is. And then what happens is we start to get in tune with what's going on with our body, and we can take small steps every day to make incremental improvements. So, I have like some leg pain, and so I had to watch some videos and learn about how to use a massage ball and exactly where to place it on which muscles. And, so every day I have to just do a little bit of that, and that kind of helps kind of get me more rooted in my body and relaxed, breathing, solar plexus stuff. I have a lot of solar plexus stuff, so spend a lot of time, really tuning into my solar plexus energy, which is yellow, and vitality. So getting out in the sunshine, moving my body, so start to just really feel your body and kind of see what's working and what's not and what's challenged, and don't be scared of it, because we're stopping the hemorrhaging when we do this. If we just stay in our head and we're out of touch with our body and what our reality is, it's hemorrhaging. It's just going to get worse and worse and worse. So just slow the process down, get in nature, get in touch with your body. And then, in the near future, you have the Knight of Pentacles in reverse, and it's like an offer that doesn't come, or and the only thing I can really tune in with this, because of the way this reading is structured, is that you might have this expectation of some sort of return on something, that something's going to come to you from an outside source. And the message I'm getting is that it's not about that. So I don't know what that means to you, but you can tune into that yourself. But it's not about someone bringing something to you. It's about you getting in touch with your body and nature, and really taking control, taking the reins of this horse, which is your mind. And we do that not by thinking about it, but by physicalizing and by getting into our body and into nature. So the outcome is the King of Cups, which is beautiful. It's the master of the emotions. It's somebody who's done the work to master their emotions, and because they recognize and have the knowledge and the wisdom to see how you use your emotions in a constructive manner, and in a manner that includes other people. So, as you become aware of how emotions work and their value and how to apply them, you're going to find the sense of peace in working with that emotional energy. So again, get in touch with nature, let that calm the mind, all that. But it just as a quick little overview, all emotions are useful and needed for different reasons. Some people are negative. They say we don't need anger. Some people say we don't need fear. Some people say we don't need this or that, or blah, blah, blah. Now, what's important is that emotions are indicators or signposts for certain information and things to act upon. So on the very most basic level, I'll give you this analogy, and we can talk about it more. If you have any questions, you can put it in the comments. But the divine mind, or the mind that is in balance, is a mind that is balanced between anger and fear, and passion and compassion. Now, that might sound a little strange and say, well, are you saying that I should be angry and fearful, and that's okay, and that I should also be passionate and compassionate? Well, yes and no. What it really means is that we have to understand the root of these emotions and how they creatively work together. And that's when we move from kind of a state of ignorance about our emotions and our reality, and into a state of knowledge and wisdom and application, which is the King of Cups. So the way this basically works is very simple. So anger, at the root of anger, is a sense of violation. Now, if we didn't have that feeling that we call anger, it's just a word, but it's a feeling that we can all identify with. If we didn't have that feeling, we wouldn't be made aware of whether or not somebody actually violated us. And without that awareness, we wouldn't be able to have healthy boundaries and be aware of our own personal needs. How would we know our own needs if we didn't have those responses? So anger, the feeling, the thing we call anger, is a very useful tool in becoming aware of our own boundaries, needs, and whether or not we may be in a situation where we're being violated. So when we feel that feeling, we don't need to lash out. It simply makes us aware of something. So, 9 times out of 10, we have plenty of time to respond to a situation, and it's best to slow down, take note, and kind of go over the details in private before you act upon something. So that's what anger is. Fear is truly, at the root of it, is really just a sense of concern. You're concerned about something. I'm concerned that something is going to hurt my physical body. I'm concerned that I will not have the food to nourish myself, to sustain myself. I am concerned I may not be able to generate the resources I need to provide shelter for my body. So concern is the ability, much like anger, we call these things different words, but they're not all really different words. There's love and there's a blockage of love. That's really all that's happening. And there's different circumstances that occurs in. And that's why we have these different names for these different circumstances. So it's really love or a blockage of love. That's all that's really happening. So in the state of concern is we're concerned that something's going to happen to us. Now, if we didn't have that, then we wouldn't be able to kind of foresee and proactively respond to situations in ways that would then give us the opportunity to align ourselves for the best outcome. So that's the use of it. So when anyone says anger or fear is bad and that's bad, and they just don't know what they're talking about. They're just not educated. On the other side is we have anger and fear with the balance of passion and compassion. So passion being our drive or our courage or this movement towards wanting to respond to something. Now, if you're concerned about something, hopefully we respond to it. If we feel anger or a sense of violation, it's interesting how we kind of instantly have this passion to want to respond to something. And if you're not skillful, that can come across in very angry and unconstructive ways. But if you're aware why we have these tools and what they are, then you can respond to it much more consciously and transform your life. So passion is our drive to take action, to have passion, to have concern and caring, to want to act on it. And then compassion is having the sensitivity to the situation. Now, anytime people are having emotions and their needs are being raised up, it can be a time that's very volatile or sensitive to how people respond, because they want to know that their needs are going to be taken care of and that they're going to be safe. So it's really kind of calming the beast. It's like the strength card in the tarot, petting the cat, and letting the cat know that things are going to be okay. So compassion is to be sensitive and humane in how we approach something and to listen and things of that sort. Now, the analogy I get, which I think is really cool, is if you look at a small child, they're very much in the divine mind. They're very aware of their fears or their concerns. They're openly and honest about what angers them and aware of their boundaries. It's instinctive. They just know how they feel. They also, if they see, say, an adult who's in a challenging situation or crying or hurt, a child in a childlike nature, their immediate response is to want to come help, to want to help the situation. So they a child will come to somebody, like it's an adult who's hurt, or a child who's hurt, or an animal who's hurt. They'll come with great passion to want to help, to want to inquire on what's wrong and what they can do about it, and with lots of compassion and caring and nurturing. So there's that loving nature in action. That's the divine mind. That's the mind in action. So what it is to really be the King of Cups, which is the outcome of your reading, is to understand how those emotions work and to understand that we're really trying to regain that childlike presence with our mental and emotional processes, where we are very compassionate and passionate about situations. Now, anger and fear are usually associated with destructive emotions. Passion and compassion are usually associated with kind or good emotions. Now, it's not necessarily true, because anger and fear and passion and compassion can easily be swapped. So obviously, if fear is looked at as a concern, we can be concerned about someone. That can be very constructive. Same with our sense of anger or violation, is that we can be passionate and inquisitive about addressing the situation, which can be very constructive. Now, the same thing is true with passion and compassion. Passion without restraint, passion without altruism, passion, and fire without, without it being directed in a constructive manner, can also be very, very destructive. And same with compassion. Compassion, we can kind of almost drown people in compassion and keep them from really growing as people if we're too compassionate all the time, and it kind of makes their muscles weak, so to say. So, we want to moderate what compassion we give, and also how we're responding to our angers and our fears. So, and that's that infinite balance that really is what the divine mind is. So, as human beings, if we become educated about how to manage these emotions and what they're there for, then we can really transcend our animal-like nature into the higher values of the angelic realms, and really become the human beings that we're said to be, which are humane and compassionate and caring and altruistic beings manifest upon the earth. So it looks like it's your destiny, Sagittarius, at the end of this year, the end of this decade, to really step into that place of the King of Cups. You already have that beautiful, playful-like nature. Let's regain that childhood-like nature of the mind by getting in touch with our body and allowing our natural responses to become present, and in having the awareness to respond to them in a really positive and loving manner. So I'll leave you at that. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'll be doing some other videos. If you could like and subscribe, that'd be super cool. I'm just trying to get my channel going here. And you guys have a great holiday. Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year. It's all coming. It's wavy gravy. But like I said, man, master your emotions, King of Cups. You got this. No problem. All right, Sagittarius. I'll see you later.